Hey everybody, it's Steven GetMoneyMyrick here. I realize it's been a while since I'd uploaded any Magic content, and I want to assure you all that I'm still out there kicking butt in Throne of Eldraine. I'd heard that Arena had updated the bots, and it's no longer just a mill fest out there, so I wanted to give Arena a shot and decided I would record my most recent draft. We ended up getting some pretty powerful cards and effects, and I've condensed it all down into what I felt were the highlights of the draft. Let me know if you guys like this format. I figured it'd save some time while still showing some of the cooler interactions and some of the drafting process while making it a lot shorter for you all. So let's go check it out. So here we go. We're starting our draft. One thing I want to let you all know is I did not record a few games. There are a few that got lost because I forgot because I'm a moron. But in our first pick here, we see Emry, Lurker the Lock. And I already know I'm going to first pick this. I'm not even looking too much at the other picks. Second pick, we've got Fierce Witchstalker in here. We got Clockwork Servant. I like the idea of Clockwork with Emry, but I'm ultimately going to get Order of Midnight here because it's just such a powerful effect. But yeah, Clockwork Servant sounds very fun with Emry. In case it dies, keep bringing it back. Here I'm looking at Muscle. I'm also looking at Moonlight Scavengers. Ballot Muscle is just a powerful effect. Not as great with Emry, and now we're in 3 colors, but still excited. You have a hard choice: Covetous Urge or Golden Egg. I never ended up getting a Golden Egg for the draft. I took the Covetous Urge because it's a powerful effect, and I was really wanting that egg later on because of its effect with Emry. Here I'm just deciding between Mystical Dispute or Into the Story, maybe even slightly Corridor Monitor. But not really at all. I've never been able to cast Into the Story before. I thought it was good since it's 7 mana, and I probably won't be doing dedicated blue-black mill, but I'm thinking, Mystical Dispute's not the best, and maybe I can find some way Into the Story work. So here's how we finished the first pack, and now we're on the second pack. Not super excited about this pack. Don't even remember what I necessarily ended up taking. Just with me wanting to be in blue-black, you can see I picked up a lot of red and green cards, so I'm thinking maybe Grumgully here as well at the end of the draft because maybe red and green was open, but I also just know how much I want to play Emry and how much I want to play Order of Midnight. So I ended up taking Forever Young. It's strong against Mill. It was probably not the right pick. Turn to the Pumpkin was an obvious pick here. Bacon to a Pie, so now I'm thinking, okay, black is open. Definitely wanting to do blue-black. Archon of Absolution is nuts, but we have no white. Looking at Scalding Cauldron, which we already have one of, but it's so powerful with Emry, but Foreboding Fruit to get that card draw. And then pack 3, we get the hookup. We get the Lockmere Serpent. This is one of my tougher picks about what I was supposed to be taking in pack 3. One thing you'll notice, I have an Animating Fairy there in the pile, and I definitely... I'll talk more about Animating Fairy in a second, but... Picked up the Revenge of Raven just to be strong against aggressive deck. You can see we got 2 Crashing Drawbridges there, which is an 0/4 that you can tap to give a creature haste. I'm deciding here which card I'm going to cut, and I definitely thought Animating Fairy could animate anything, and so that's why we got the 2 Crashing Drawbridges. But they'll end up playing well. So this is our first game. Excited to have Scalding Cauldron on the play, maybe get some Emry action going. Skipping around to my step, I drew into some cards. I've got the Order of Midnight. Now we're on turn 4. You can see they're a little aggressive. Got the Witching Well to set up some card draw. And here, when I'm scrying, I'm thinking about what can I take with Covetous Urge from him, and what am I going to get to play this. Also debating what I'm going to kill with this Scalding Cauldron. And ultimately, I think I'll end up deciding killing the Inspiring Veteran to get that presence off the board, and so it doesn't pump his team and just have more long-term damage coming at us. I kind of wanted to make sure he didn't have a way to pump it. I don't really think there's a 1 white pump spell, but I kind of wanted to give him a chance to do something before I killed it, and I don't want to give them the chance to pump it later. Here on turn 5, you can see we're Adamanting turn into a pumpkin to get a food token. This is a recurring theme of us giving trouble for his Fireborn Knight. Here later you can see we're bouncing it back to his hand as well, so he just keeps casting it, we keep bouncing it back. Finally feel in a good spot to play Covetous Urge here and look at our opponent's hand, and I've got a few choices here on what I want to take. I ultimately end up getting trapped in the tower, but considering the Fireborn Knight, just to get it out of his hand, But I also know Trapped in the Tower is very powerful against my Moonlit Scavengers. It's something that I can cast cheaply for 2 mana, and I don't want it just shutting out my Moonlit Scavengers. So I'm going to end up taking that here and casting it, actually. Can't cast it on the Griffin because it has flying. But this will open it up so that I can attack this turn with both of them and get him down to 6 health as well, because he's not going to want to block with the Griffin and just die. And finally get to play Emry, and the sick thing with Emry is I'll get to keep recurring Scalding Cauldron and also the Witching Well. And that was the first time actually that the Knight Currying Favor actually felt like it did something. We skipped ahead 1 turn here, because you can tell by my mana, and I'm debating what I want to do with Emry. So here we can get the Scalding Cauldron back for 1 mana, or we can get the Locthwain Goggle if we need a blocker. And you can see we can recur the Scalding Cauldron. So here's a sick play where I use on the Fireborn Knight, and then I can also use Emry, get it back again, and clear the Robber of the Rich on the same turn to set up a lethal attack here, because I'm clearing off his blockers. You know, it's a high mana play, 7 mana, but kills 2 creatures, and so this is where Emry's really strong. He did use Ardenvale Tactician there to block down my attackers, so I couldn't get lethal here. Only going to be able to hit for 2, but I'm feeling very, very powerful having Emry and having that Scalding Cauldron and all of his low toughness creatures. Can't remember exactly what happens here. I think he... What does he do here? I'm guessing he just plays Ardenvale Tactician and I pass, but... Okay, Ardenvale Paladin. So here's the fun part, is I get to take my Animating Fairy, which I've been holding on to a while, to get a token. And I have to decide if I'm doing the Witching Well or the food token, and what I'm most worried of. Being at 4 life, I kind of wanted to set up so I could crack that food token if I had to, and he decides, no, I'm just going to quit. This is too much. The Emry recurring it is just too strong. So we're on to game 2 here. As I mentioned, I missed a few games in recording, so this might actually not be game 2. It might be like game 4. But keeping this hand, it's only a 2-lander, but we have a few plays we can make, you know, early on in the game. Casting a Forever Young on turn 2 just to cycle. Turn 3 here, you can see what happens is I definitely thought Animating Fairy could target the Gargoyle to make it a 4/4. So that's what I was trying to do there. Realizing my drawbridges are not as powerful as I thought they might be, and the interaction isn't as great because I want to make it a 4/4, and I can't because it's a creature and it has to be a non-creature artifact. So debating what I'm going to do here instead, and just end up casting the Smith Swordmaster, and will happily trade with his creatures. Here we actually play the drawbridge. And you can see having an 0/4, I mean, it just shuts down a lot of attacks for him. Drawbridge will keep coming up and again in these games of just having a blocker that it's hard to get through, and if you can recur with Emry, then you just keep bringing that blocker back. Here's a pretty big blowout. I don't necessarily need to save my drawbridge, but just the fact that he doesn't get to draw a card after this, and it delays his Fox for another turn so it can't attack. So that was a pretty big play. Here he adamanted his creatures, gave him +1/+1, but I already know with the removal I have in my hand that I can return 1 with Pumpkin and get rid of the counter, or I can bake into a pie. He ended up locking down my blocker here and pumping his team, and so this is when I'm going to deploy my removal here, and I'm debating what I want to remove and how I want to remove it. So here I get to, I assume I bake into a pie, and that allows me to, no, okay, never mind. At some point I'm going to probably end up baking into a pie, and then I can Animating Fairy that food token that gets created from it. I think here I just knew I could remove it. The Fox, so I still have that bake into a pie, and I'm just holding on to it in case I ever need it. You know, and it's late in the game, and I only have an 0/4, but I'm feeling like I've already won. Emry here, it's only going to cost 2 because I have 1. And let's see if I make the smart moves or not. I don't make bake into a pie first to make her cost 1 less by having a food token. But what I can do with Crashing Drawbridge is I can give my Emry haste. And so that allows them to attack this turn, to tap this turn, which allows me to get my Scalding Cauldron back and remove it, so I still don't have to use that bake into a pie. And at this point my engine's set up, and you'll see a recurring theme versus last game, you know, where I was able to just keep recurring the Scalding Cauldron and take out small creatures. So Emry, very, very, very powerful. We only had basically like 2 effects that you could recur, Scalding Cauldron and Witching Well, but I got to do this combination a lot, and just bringing back my drawbridges even as blockers was powerful. Okay, what are we doing here? Getting back another Cauldron. You see, just keeps playing things and we keep destroying them. There was actually one game that I didn't record where I was against a mill deck with Folio Fancies, and I got to my last card that I ended up winning exactly with lethal. So it's unfortunate I didn't get to record that game and keep it around. So finally, we get to do the play here I've been talking about. I'm glad I saved my bake into a pie for this 3/6 since the Scalding Cauldron can't take it out. We get the token, we get to animate and make a 4/4, and at this point it's just gravy and we've won for all intents and purposes. But yeah, that mill deck I played against, he actually could have killed me if he would have activated his Folio of Fancies to make me draw 1 with the XX tap, make each opponent draw 1, because I had 1 card and he ended up tapping out with something else and missed the opportunity, so I could draw my last card just regularly and then do lethal on the final turn. So yeah, very sad that I didn't record that. I thought it was a sweet game. Here you can see, I mean, I just keep bringing back Scalding Cauldron. Gonna cast, yeah, just, I mean, my opponent at this point really needs to concede because they're so low they can do. Getting back the Witching Well to draw cards. And at this point, the writing's on the wall. I know I've said that a few times right now, but just going to be able to play that, crack it at the end of their turn, get some cards. And we're just going to be able to keep doing that every game, every turn, right? We're going to be drawing 2 more cards every turn for 5 mana. Play a land here, play a Covetous Urge, see what we're getting. He kept 1 card in hand. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't anything powerful. It ended up being a land. Debating what I want to get here. I end up getting this True Love's Kiss. Just to really lock him out completely so he can't tap down my creatures or anything with the Spinning Wheel. Here he taps it for mana. I would have personally tapped it down to tap down one of my creatures just so you can survive and prevent 4 points of damage on my attack here. Don't really know what he's thinking by floating 1 mana and what that's really going to do. And finally concedes. So we're going to go on to our next game. So this is our starting hand. A little slower. You can see we only have 3 drops in this hand. No powerful, like, not when I say powerful, not really powerful. And we're playing up against an aggro deck, and we got all these 3 drops. And you can see they came out of the gate swinging with the Weaselback and pumping it on turn 2 to hit us for more damage. Not feeling great just because of all the 3 drops we have. He's pumping it with Rimrock Knight. Can get 3 points in, get a 3/1 Rimrock Knight out, and have 4 damage on the table, but the ability to make it 6. And now just debating how I can survive. I can cast Lost Legion to scry and try and even out my draws. At this point, I'm willing to trade with anything and just keep my life total okay. Because, again, I just don't have a ton of plays. The Animating Fairy, I'm trying to get a food token out of from the Foreboding Fruit so that I can get a 4/4 in here. So I trade off here, and they end up playing a 4-drop. I think it's the Ogre Errant. So here I have a few choices, and I always try to use all my mana, and the issue is with these 3-drops, you know, I can only do one of them. And am I going to do 2 to myself to draw another card? Am I going to cast a 2/2 fairy, but then I miss the opportunity to make a 4/4? You know, Covetous Urge takes the most powerful thing out of their hand. So that's what I'm leaning towards right now, is to get a card out of their hand and then find something that can help me. Here I make the right choice, I believe, which is getting the Smitten Swordmaster. It has a way to burn me with the knights he has in his hand, so I don't want that to happen. It also gives me a life-linking creature for 2 mana, which is powerful. So I definitely make the right choice about what to take here in my mind, but you'll see as this game goes on that I did end up making some poor choices with the Smitten Swordmaster. So this is them attacking me and the damage they're getting in. You know, and just increasing their board presence. Here I'm just trying to figure out what I can do. I want to remove some stuff. I have 5 mana. I really wish I had 6. I really want to be able to play more spells. You know, Foreboding Fruit with the Animating Fairy would be nice. I make the right choice here, which is the cast Smitten Swordmaster. And what I should have done is just cast Animating Fairy as a 2/2 and maybe double block the Ogre Errant because it'll give the Weaselback Menace, but get the 2 life. And what I settle on is this really terrible play. I settle on it, I believe, because it allows me to use all my mana, and it's that I play out the Scalding Cauldron with the intention of being able to use it next turn to kill something, and I'm holding back Runaway Together. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to bounce the Ogre Errant. The problem is the creature I have is his creature, and I knew it was his creature, and I knew it went back to his hand, but I got this creature specifically because it has lifelink. So this is definitely one of the more poor choices I made in the game here, because it's going to go back to his hand, and ultimately it's going to end up really closing out the game for him. If I would have just blocked something here with the Smitten Swordmaster and gotten the 2 life, that way he wouldn't go back to his hand, I probably would have been better off. It was just a poor choice all around, and you know, at the time I was just like, okay, I'm going to delay him by he's tapping out for this Weaselback, so now he can't play his Ogre Errant, so that'll have to be the whole next turn for it to happen. But you'll see he's going to get me down here to 3 life after he pumps this, and the issue is I soon realized I basically just gave him lethal. Because he has that Curry Favor, the adventure portion of Smitten Swordmaster, and that will drain for the number of knights he has, and he already has 2, so if he can just play 1 more knight and then do that, he's going to just drain me for 3. So this is the only game I lost, spoilers, and basically I made some pretty poor decisions. Not having any early plays and only having 3 drops hurt, not having 6 mana where I could cast 2-3 drops a turn. You know, if I could have cracked that Scalding Cauldron and played an Animating Fairy, or if I could have Foreboding Fruited to get the food token and then animate it, you know, things maybe would have played out differently. But, you know, here I gave the game away, and I was pretty disappointed in myself. So yeah, that was our only loss. This will be the 3rd game, I believe, that you've watched. But here you're going to see the results, and where I've talked about how I've missed some games, you can see that was actually the 5th game I had played. So this is our next game that we played, and this is the hand that we kept. I like it because I've got Emry, and I've got an artifact, and in my mind I can just keep setting up blockers. Skipping ahead a few turns, you can see I've played out some blockers. I'm going to play out the Gargoyle here to make it so Emry cost 1. You know, and you can see he's got an aggressive deck here, but it's just going to be very hard to push through damage on all these 0-4s and 0-3s that I can keep bringing back with Emry. And the fact that he can't actually attack with Gingerbrute because I can give my creatures haste with the Crashing Drawbridge, so he can't push through the damage. That's an interesting interaction, is that. Here I'm getting rid of the Signpost Scarecrow, and this is sort of the funny story of this match. My opponent didn't do a ton this game, but you can see I just keep getting rid of it. here I'm scrying. I'm going to put a Moonlit Scavengers on the top. And you'll see that Moonlit Scavengers comes back just to punch the Scarecrow again even more. What did I end up doing here? So here I cast that Lost Legion and scryed, and so here you're seeing the benefit of the Crashing Drawbridge, which is I'm able to attack right away with this Lost Legion that I played and scryed with. And I'm going to end up using Emry to get a creature to untap the Lost Legion, I believe. Or maybe I do untap the Drawbridge just because that's 4 toughness. I'm not really worried about, you know, him killing me. Just I have so many blockers with such high toughness. You know, I'm getting this Quarter Monitor. It's a 1/4. That's not very good against... I mean, that's extremely good, you know, against his 2/1 and his 1/1. And I'm just keep setting up blockers, pushing through damage slowly. Yeah. So individually, none of these cards are super, super powerful, but Emry just makes it so, like, I don't care if my Drawbridge dies because I'm just going to bring it back. And so they're having to pump it to kill it, you know, like to make their 2/1 half-4 attack, but temporarily, like they're wasting a card just to get through a blocker that I'm going to bring back. Here you can see he's got a Scarecrow that he eventually played out again, and like I was saying, it's just this, one of the stories of this game was how I just kept dealing with this Scarecrow and getting rid of it. So here I'm going to bounce it back to his hand. And that's just him wasting 4 mana every turn. It's not a scary creature. Again, my opponent wasn't doing a ton of stuff this game. Here I'm showing how that's the Scavengers I had just played. And by doing the Drawbridge, I can give it haste. So I'm pushing through with a lot of damage here. Yeah, Drawbridge is a card that is definitely underrated, but there are certain decks it belongs in for sure as well. Okay, this is a smart play by my opponent. They were able to outflank and deal 3 to kill my Moonlit Scavengers because the Knight has first strike. Here I'm forever yawning back my Scavengers so that I can bounce something again if I need to. And my opponent just says that's enough. I don't need any more of this. So we got another win. On to our next game. Got Emry, got a 1-drop artifact. I'm a happy guy. Got Lockmere if the game goes late. You can see turn 2, I milled the Order of Midnight into my graveyard. And here on turn 4, I get to play Forever Young. Do something a little fancy here. It might be a little too fancy for my own good, but I get the Order of Midnight, play a land, and then can actually bring back another creature using the Alter Fate, I don't remember what it's called, and get back the Lost Legion. So I could just gone straight for the Lost Legion and brought it back. Here I get a 2/2 later on in the game. Here my opponent makes a crazy decision. They choose the Reef Soul, my 0/3, instead of my Emry. Don't know what on earth they were thinking. You can see with Emry, the next turn I'm able to just bring it right back and cast it. So don't know what my opponent was thinking there at all. Might have missed something. They set up a little bit of a board presence here. I'm feeling confident because I have Runaway together, and I can see that they have a combat trick, you know, to give it more toughness. And I'm just hoping that they play it and waste their mana doing stuff like that because I know that, you know, I can bounce whatever. I start out here thinking that I'm going to bounce their creature and one of my creatures that's taking damage, and then I realize later on, and you can see I cancel it, it's like, no, I might as well just bounce the Lockflowing Gargoyle just because it's 1 mana and I can play it out eventually and not spend 3 mana playing out the Lost Legion. Although Lost Legion does give me the scry, I just want to keep my board presence there so that they don't want to attack and feel like they can't attack into me. Here we get the engine going. So you've seen this dog before, this cat and dog. Kill that, able to tap with Emry to bring it back and pay 1. And, you know, my creatures have bigger toughness. I'm not going to play that, am I? Surely I'm not going to do that. Surely I'm going to tap Emry and get the Scalding Cauldron back, right? Maybe I'm just worried about defending, you know, but I am at 15 life. I'm not super duper worried. Yeah, you know, I'm just able to keep playing Scalding Cauldrons. Here my opponent cast a Flutterfox. You can see I've drawn into a Bake into a Pie that I've been waiting for a good target to use against. Thought about using against the Spoon and Swordmaster since it has the equipment on it and to delay the effect. Again, here I don't know what my opponent really is doing using Trapped in Tower on a Gargoyle. I think they're worried about... I really don't know what they're doing. This is a terrible play because I can spend 4 mana and give it flying, and then the Trapped in Tower falls off. So I'm debating doing that here instead of casting Bake into a Pie, but I'm not in any hurry to give my Lockthwain Gargoyle flying. But definitely always be careful of what you're putting your Trapped in Towers on, because, yeah, I don't know. My opponent made some really questionable decisions here. So got to do the Scalding Cauldron. Don't remember how they took care of my Emry, but you can see I no longer have Emry on the board. The Bake into Pie got me the token so that I could make my 4/4 creature from it with the Animating Fairy. And now I'm just slowly attacking. I'm not too worried about their board at all. They do end up getting a 6/5 here with all the glitters. And finally, that Lochmere Serpent that's been sitting in my hand since the start of the game, I'm going to flash it in to deal with this 6/5. And perfectly happy to block it. I've got an extra swamp in case they can kill it and we can trade. So my opponent concedes. And then this is our last game, and it's a recurring theme you'll see about Lochmere Serpent and what happens when you play it. So last game, I flashed another Lochmere Serpent at the end of their turn. Won the game. We ended up finishing 7-1, so very happy with that result. And Lochmere Serpent, I believe, had another game I didn't record where I flashed in and my opponent conceded. So I believe that happened 3 times on my 8 games where that was just the end of the match. People do not like playing against that card, and it's extremely powerful. So very powerful effects with Lochmere Serpent and Emry. Hope you guys enjoyed the matches, and I'll see you all later.